Hi, I'm Gena. Today, we're going to be building an AIP agent using AIP Agent Studio that has a memory. So when we say it has a memory, that means that we're able to remember the user's likes, dislikes, preferences, and more. We're going to accomplish this using a combination of tools and retrieval context. Before we get started, a quick word from our founder.
Discover how Palantir customers unlock more value from Foundry and AIP thanks to our live instructor-led trainings. We are Ontologize, a group of former Palantir engineers who love teaching. We've trained thousands of Palantir users at leading organizations around the world. Unlock the full potential of your Palantir deployment by going to ontologize.com.
By the end of this exercise, you will have built the following AIP agent. It's just going to be a conversational agent that has the ability to remember, but only when you want. So here, I'm going to send it a message and say something like, the only ingredients I like in a salad are spinach, corn, and beans. All other ingredients are awful. Remember this. You'll see that it's running an action, create Gena, user memory, and now it's remembering what I like in a salad. So now I'm going to hit new and see what it knows. So here I'm going to say, make me a salad for dinner. All right, I guess it's going to make me a salad recipe. So here, it's used its retrieval context to bring up my memories that I've saved, and now it's able to make me a dinner salad recipe that only includes the salad makings that I like. And so that is an example of how we're going to build an agent that has the ability to persist memory from chat to chat for a specific user. Let's go build it. So the way that we're going to actually create memories using the AIP agent is through a memory object. And so every time the user says, remember, we're going to create an instance of the memory object type. And so the first thing that we're going to do here is make our memory object type and the associated actions that we're going to need. So here, we're going to hit Control-J and search for Ontology Manager. Now you're going to click on Ontology Manager. And here we are in Ontology Manager. So now you're going to hit New, Object Type. And we're going to continue with our data source because we don't have one right now. You still do need to select a folder. So I'm going to call this User Memories Backing Dataset. And then I'm going to hit Save. And now I'm going to hit Next. I'll give this an icon. So maybe a brain for memory. So I'll call this user memory. Now, I'm going to prefix this with my name, and you should do the same in case others on your stack are doing the same exercise. So Gena, user memory. Now I'm going to hit Next. And so the primary key here is going to be primary key. So that's going to be the memory ID, let's call it. Now, the title key can also be the memory ID. And then we're going to add two more properties here. We're going to add the user ID, which is going to be the user ID of the individual whose memory it is. And then we're going to have the memory itself. So what is the text of the memory? Is it Gena doesn't like apples or something like that? So now here, we're going to hit Next. And we are going to generate all these action types, create, modify, and delete. And now we're going to hit Create. And that's our ontology. So now all we're going to need to do is hit Save and Save to Ontology and Save Changes. Now, for simplicity's sake on this iteration, we're keeping memory as just a regular string. But going forward, we might also want to have a memory embedding property that is a vector property so we can more easily retrieve the correct memories. But for this instance, we're just going to be dumping in all of the memories from the specific user, and so we won't need to do that on this iteration. So now that we have saved our object, we're going to have to wait for the indexing process to complete. And so I take a look at data sources. I can see that this process is in motion, so we're going to hang tight while that happens. So now our indexing process is completed and we're ready to go. So now we're going to hop into AIP Agent Studio to go make our agent. So here, we're going to hit Control-J and search for AIP Agent Studio. You're going to hit New AIP Agent. It's going to be a standard agent. Gonna hit continue. And I'm gonna call this one agent that can remember. And I'm gonna hit select location, save it in my learning project, and hit save. And now I'm gonna hit create AIP agent. So here we are in AIP Agent Studio. Now let's talk about why we actually need a memory. So within a single conversation that is within a series of chats in a single thread, AIP Agent actually does have a bit of a memory. It does have some context based just on the conversation history in a specific conversation. Now, it loses that context when you start a new conversation. So that means even if in one conversation you said, I like peaches, peaches are the only fruit I like, it might remember for the rest of that conversation for a certain duration of the conversation, but it won't remember in the next conversation. And sometimes that's not what you want. So now let's go configure this. So here, we're going to pop into agent configuration, and we're going to be using a couple of different tools here to make this happen. First, the instructions. Of course, we're going to have to write a prompt. We're going to have to explain what the role of the agent is and what tools it can use. Now, there's a couple of different steps that we need to consider. So step one is it needs to read memories that already exist for a specific user. Step two is it needs to be able to write back a memory that a user wants the agent to remember back to the memories object. So let's start first with how do we read the memories that are relevant to a user. Now, one way is through tools. So using tools, we could use the object query tool to go get the relevant memories for a specific user. However, in this case, we're going to actually do it through retrieval context. While you'd typically use the retrieval context with some sort of object type that has an embedding property to do RAG operations, you can also just put an object set in the retrieval context and enable the agent to use that to generate its responses. It just means it's not going to do any sort of fancy retrieval. So it really is just going to look at all of the objects that you give it. And so again, in future iterations of this, we're going to want to actually add an embedding property to the memories, embed on the fly, and then actually semantic search the memories. But for now, we're going to do something a little simpler. Now, the other thing to consider before the retrieval context is the application state. The application state is how the AIP agent talks to the application where it lives. So this is how it can pass variables to and from workshop, for example. And so in this case, we're going to use the application state in two ways. One thing we're going to use the application state for is to feed in the user ID of the current user to the AIP agent so it can register a memory with that specific user ID for the current user. The other thing that we're going to use the application state for is to filter down for the memories just for the current user in workshop, and then feed that into the AIP agent as the application state, and then put that into the retrieval context. So here, we're going to start with application state. So you're going to click on Add Application Variable. And we're going to do two here. So we're going to start with a string, and that's going to be the user ID. And so LLM can see the string value. Now next up, we're going to add one more application variable, and that's going to be an object set. And this is going to be memories for current user. Now, we're going to create that in Workshop and actually feed it into the agent. But we do have to select a specific object type, and the object type is, of course, going to be Gena, or your name, user memory. Now, we are going to want to add ontology context, so you can actually click this button right from here. And so this is going to allow it to actually read the objects and use their information. So here, we're going to hit Add Ontology Context. And now you'll see that you have Gena, user memory, under your retrieval context. Let's click on it. So we can close this to get this out of our way. Now you're going to click here on user memory. And here we deal with the retrieval settings. So it can be static or variable. Now this one is going to be variable. And the reason it's defaulting to a variable is because we created the ontology context from the application state configuration. Now, that can also be static. So static would mean we just grab some static set of memories, and then use that for context. But we really don't want to do that because we do want to dynamically feed in the memories just for the current user. Now, in later iterations of this, we can hit relevant objects instead of all objects, which will allow us to semantic search the memories. But for today, we're going to keep it simple by just hitting all objects, and we can stick to a maximum of 20 objects to load. So now that we've set the application context, and now we're going to hit back. So at this point, we've configured the application state, and we've configured the retrieval context. Now let's go take a look at this little X up in the corner and click on Debug Application State. And here, you're going to see that we're able to pass in the user ID and the memories for the current user into the agent. But of course, it's going to be much more user-friendly to do that in Workshop. So now we're going to write our prompt. You are a conversational agent. Use the user's existing memories when answering their questions. Okay, so that's going to be the first part of our prompt. Now, the next part of our prompt is going to be instructing the agent when to create an instance of the memory object type. And so here, we're going to add our first tool. So you're going to hit Add Tool. And the tool that we're going to give this is to apply an action. So you're going to click on Apply Action. And the action that we're going to apply is create your name, so Gena, user, memory. And now you're going to select that one and hit Confirm Selection. So we're going to experiment with this a little bit, but first let's write the prompt. So we want this to be really specific, as in we only want it to create memories when the user says, remember. We don't want it to remember everything that the user says, so that we only have relevant memories. So let's put the instructions for using the tool in. You must only create new memories if the user explicitly includes the word remember in their message. Thus, do not infer, assume, or guess intent. If the word remember does not appear exactly as written, do not create a memory. Even if the user's intent seems clear. Now, here's the instruction. When remember is present, use the, and here we're going to invoke a tool. We do that by hitting a /, and we're going to invoke the create Gena user memory tool. And then we're going to say use the current user ID, which is in the application state. So use the user ID in the action. Extract the relevant content and save it as a user memory object. So here we're going to do a classic in generative model prompting. Do not hallucinate the presence of remember in the message. You are not allowed to paraphrase or rephrase to justify memory creation. So this prompt is the result of a little bit of iteration. You'll see it's really, really specific because in experiments, I was noticing that the agent was really inclined to create memories, even if the user, which is me, didn't explicitly say remember. And now, so this is what I found in experiments also helped it not make a memory when it's not supposed to, which is to give it an alternative if the user does not explicitly say remember. And so here I'm going to say, if the user does not explicitly say remember in their message, then respond in a friendly and conversational tone. And now I'm going to add one last line here. So now just one more line of this. I'm going to say, if you do run the action, you must justify why you did it. Okay, now let's take it for a spin. So I want to start with something easy, but not actually going to say remember. So here I'm going to say something like, I like peaches. And you'll see it's trying to read the application state value and read the context, but there is none yet. Now I get back a response, peaches are delicious. Do you have a favorite way to enjoy them? Now let's try again. I like rambutan. All right. I get a response, but no memory created. Now, every so often, it's still going to create a memory even when the user doesn't say, remember. You might need some additional prompting to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, let's try saying, remember. So here, remember, I like peaches. And they are the only fruit I like. I hate all other fruits. So clearly not true, but let's try it out. You'll see here, it actually hasn't run the create Gena user memory action yet. But if I click this, then I can submit it, but you'll see that the user ID is blank because the AIP agent doesn't actually know my user ID. So I'm going to go grab my user ID from the Foundry settings. You can also find yours there. So if you click in the lower corner and go to account and then settings, then you'll be able to find your user ID there. So I'm going to go grab that. And now I've gone and grabbed my user ID. Now I'm also going to set the application state with it. And I'm also going to hit create Gena user memory, pop in my user ID there and hit submit. Now, this is a bit of an unwieldy way to do things. So for the tool, create Gena user memory, I'm going to toggle on allow agent to automatically run the selected action. So here, if I hit yes, proceed, then when I message, it's going to be able to apply those actions automatically. So I can say something like, remember, I only like peaches. All other fruits are gross. All right? And so now it actually is reading a memory. And so here it executed the remember action. And so now I have another memory there. Okay, so in order to really understand the benefit here, let's publish this and put this into Workshop. And we can really take it for a spin and also properly plug in the retrieval context so we get the memories for the current user and can automatically grab the user ID of the current user and feed it in. So here, we're going to hit save and publish. And now we're ready to go try it out in Workshop. So from here, we're going to pop into Workshop, and you can keep this page open if you want to hop back and forth between them. So we're going to hit Control-J and search for Workshop. Open that up in a new tab. And now I'm going to click on Blank Module, and I'm going to call this one AIP Agent Deployment. And now I'm going to hit Save. All right, so we're just going to put the agent over here. So I'm actually going to get rid of that other section. And now here, I'm going to hit Add Widget and search for AIP, Agent Interactive Widget, which is how we deploy our agents. Now the agent, I'm going to hit Select. And I'm going to search for Agent That Can Remember and hit Select. Now we're just going to grab the latest published version and note that this agent wants to take in parameters for its application state. It wants the user ID and the memories for the current user. So let's go make those variables. So we're going to hop over to variables on the left, hit the plus sign. We're going to make one string variable, and that string variable is going to be a multi-pass attribute, for example, the user ID. So you're going to click on multi-pass attribute and call this current user ID. So I'm going to grab the user ID, so this guy, And now I'm going to make an object set that grabs only the memories for this specific user. So I'm going to hit the plus sign, make an object set, and it's going to be an object set definition. And I'll call this memories for current user. The starting object set is going to be Gena, user memory. And now you're going to hit select. And now we're going to filter. So we're going to filter on a property. And that property is going to be user ID is. And so here we're going to click on that little X and say current user ID. Now, of course, I'm the only one creating memories here. And so it's all going to be my memories. But this will extrapolate to other users. So I'm going to close this. And now I'm going to pass those variables in. So user ID is current user ID. And memories for current user is going to be memories for current user. Well, let's take it for a spin. Now, remember, it already remembers some things about me because I was trying this out in AIP Agent Studio, and those actions actually were applied. They weren't staged like they are in AIP logic. So here, I'll try something out. Make me a fruit salad. It's going to be a tough one. All right. So that was my prompt. It's reading the context. All right, so for the fruit salad, we got a bowl of peaches. All right. And now here, I can demonstrate the functionality again to remember, but also not remember. So let's try something like, I like to eat goat cheese with peaches. All right, so I'm going to hit enter. And you'll see I didn't get a memory, it just said nice to know. So now I could try again and say, remember, I like to eat goat cheese with peaches. Now I'm getting a memory. And so you'll see it ran the create memory action. Now I'm going to try again another conversation. So I'm going to say, make me a salad with my favorite fruits and cheeses. All right. And so there we have my peach and goat cheese salad based on my preferences. Now, of course, we can use this sort of technique for use cases that are more important than favorite fruits and fruit salads. So for example, what content are certain users most interested in? What level of technical detail does a user want in their responses? And so in that way, we can mimic the memory functionality that we've seen in recent months in chat interfaces like Claude and ChatGPT. Now the next step, of course, is to save and publish. And that concludes our tutorial.
Thanks for watching. We hope you found this helpful. Let us know what you want to see next in the comments.